What's up everyone, Kaze no What If is here with What If Naruto had the Sharingan. Before we start, if you like the video, like it, share with your friends, comment, and let's start the video. -4 months before the Chunin exams, Guy Sensei. Lee. Guy Sensei. Lee. Guy Sensei. Lee. Naruto was very excited to meet the super awesome sensei that is supposed to train him today. He apparently knew the Uzumaki Taijutsu style better than anyone in the elemental nations. His expectations were high. Which is why he was a bit worried when the training grounds he walked into suddenly turned into a beautiful sunset on a shore with two green-clad shinobi hugging each other very tightly. What the F dash? Oh. You must be Naruto-kun, Kakashi said you'd be joining us this youthful morning. The older one from the identical-looking pair spoke up, swiftly interrupting Naruto's rather unyouthful remark before it could be said. He was a tall man with the biggest brows Naruto had ever seen and a prominent bowl cut. Yes, are you Mato Guy? Asked a very confused Naruto. He was pretty sure this was a cruel joke Kakashi played him. He was already planning his revenge. Just as Naruto was asking his question, a pretty girl with two hair buns followed by a boy with long hair and big pearl white eyes walked in the clearing. The man puffed out his chest in pride. Indeed I am Konoha's best taijutsu specialist at your service. These are my youthful students. Guy started pointing at the three young shinobi beside him, instructing them to introduce themselves. Yosh! Came an unexpectedly loud voice. My name is Rock Lee, Konoha's beautiful green beast. It is nice to meet you, Naruto-kun. Proclaimed the green-clad genin as he shook Naruto's hand vigorously. The pretty girl, seemingly unbothered, walked out to him next. Hi. My name is Higurashi Tenten, my father runs a shinobi store, you should stop by sometime. She said, smiling warmly. The last genin just scoffed at Naruto and walked away to train in some weird fighting style Naruto couldn't recognize. What's up with him? Naruto had half a mind not to start a random fight out of nowhere, but that boy's attitude made him wanna punch his face very hard. Don't mind Niji, he's just a bit impolite. Not even Tenten seemed convinced by her own explanation of his attitude. Naruto muttered quietly under his breath, somebody better take that stick out of his astabia. Before turning to look at the man who was going to be teaching him soon. After exchanging some pleasantries, the two other genin of the now revealed Team 9 left to join their teammate in his training so Naruto and their sensei could talk about whatever it was he needed. Naruto looked at Guy in excitement. Is it true you know the Uzumaki Taijutsu style better than anyone, Guy sensei? He asked. The man in question flashed the brightest smile Naruto had ever seen and gave the boy his nice guy pose. Indeed I do, young Naruto. The Jonin exclaimed proudly once more. Naruto brushed off the feeling, focusing solely on how exciting it is to learn his family's style. He didn't care if the man teaching him was a bit eccentric. To be fair, his own sensei reads porn in public all the time. Thank you for agreeing to teach me databia. Naruto gave the man a warm smile and a polite bow. Why, of course, young Naruto, it is my honor to teach Kushina sensei's son. Kushina sensei. Naruto's face was now full of shock. Hearing his mother's name was still unfamiliar to him and left a weird warm feeling in his chest, but for her to be referred to as sensei? Guy chuckled and knelt down so he could look at Naruto at eye level, boisterous attitude momentarily gone. I'm surprised my eternal rival didn't tell you, your mother helped me become the shinobi I am today, it truly is my honor to teach you. Naruto was incredibly moved by Guy's words and he didn't know how to react. Noticing his loss for words, Guy simply ruffled his hair and stood up. After the new teacher and student duo finished exchanging pleasantries, Guy entered what Naruto would learn to call his sensei mode. The Shuriken or ceiling fist is the Uzumaki's taijutsu style. Kushina sensei taught it to me back when I was a genin. The style is made to facilitate combat fuinjutsu. Naruto just recently discovered combat fuinjutsu was a thing, and even though his level was nowhere near enough to perform seals without the use of ink and brush, he was beyond excited to try it out. It consists of swift movements and a level of unpredictability which requires agility and speed. Guy analyzed every reaction he got out of Naruto as he explained. Kakashi had informed him of Naruto's interest in fuinjutsu, and he could see the spark in Naruto's eye at the prospect of learning how to fight like his mother. That is what we'll be working on today. I'll give you a scroll with the taijutsu katas for you to memorize later. In the meantime you'll be using this. Guy gave Naruto 4 sets of weights and instructed him to place them on his wrists and legs. It's important for you to strengthen your body. The weights will allow you to increase your speed, and the training you'll be doing will make you agile and flexible. From now on you will always be wearing your weights, and we will adjust them every time moving with them becomes too easy for you. Naruto was both excited and worried about the kind of training Guy would be putting him through. He was starting to wonder if Sakura would be doing something similar with Kakashi. "You're late." At this point Sakura yelled at his sensei purely on instinct. Only 15 minutes though. She knew Kakashi was making an effort to change himself for the better and now only got late to things that weren't important. She really didn't mean to yell at him, it just happened. "Mama Sakura-chan, I got lost on the road of getting what you'll be using to train today." Kakashi I smiled at her. "Before we start." Kakashi was now looking pointedly at her. "There's something I want to talk to you about." Sakura only responded by giving Kakashi a nod. "Sakura, you're not a good shinobi," said Kakashi with brutal honesty. Sakura was gaping like a fish. She was now painfully aware that she wasn't as good as she initially thought, but that statement felt like a low blow. "You're physically weak, you're uncommitted, and those diets you put yourself through make you look a bit malnourished," continued Kakashi. Sakura wanted to retort but wasn't allowed by her sensei. "That being said, your chakra control is extremely good, and while it is true that people with lower chakra pools are generally graced with higher control, yours is pretty impressive," he complimented. Sakura beamed a little at her sensei's praise. It would seem like she wasn't a complete lost cause. "We got a tough wake-up call," trailed off Kakashi. "I trust that you will now be giving your all in your training. You have the potential to be great, and that's what I want you to achieve. Will you take this seriously?" asked the Jounin. "Yes, sensei," said Sakura with renewed vigor. "Very well then." He tossed Sakura a scroll and a set of weights for her arms and legs. After she finished putting them on, he started explaining. "You'll be learning the Mori no Ken or Forest Fist. The Senju were a clan that specialized in more than one skill instead of just one or a few, as is the case for most of the clans in Konoha." Kakashi never liked how the clans in Konoha only specialized in one single area and neglected almost every other one. You could feel the admiration in his voice when he talked about the Senju. That's how they earned the title of the clan with 1,000 skills. Their taijutsu was very straightforward in order to complement their many abilities. Sakura always liked to study and learn stuff. She didn't know Kakashi was so knowledgeable, and she didn't know he was this good at giving lectures. She now called this Kakashi's sensei mode. "For that you'll need core strength, which is what the weights are for. You will also become faster, but the type of training you'll be doing will favor mostly the strength of your body. This complements the training Naruto will be doing," explained Kakashi. "Why is that, sensei?" asked the genin. "The taijutsu style Naruto will be learning is focused on swift movements and agility. I'm sure he will be using weights as well. The difference is the training you both are going to do. You won't be as fast as Naruto, and Naruto won't be as strong as you. That's not to say you will be slow or he will be weak. I'm pretty sure you get what I mean." And she did. Sakura knew not a lot of genin did this kind of training. She was just starting with weights, and she knew her weights would only get heavier as time goes by. She might never be as fast as Naruto, but she was sure she'll be faster than most genin in the village were. Naruto limped his way to the training grounds his team used. The training with Guy was hell for him. He was forced to run around the whole village for hours wearing weights. He had to do all kinds of core exercises and he even had to do weird stretching. He just couldn't figure out why being able to do the splits would be helpful. At least he'll start practicing katas tomorrow. Kakashi-sensei, yelled Naruto before collapsing in front of the man. Nice of you to join us, Naruto, said Kakashi, giving Naruto an eye smile. Sakura was lying in the grass right by his side. She tried to greet Naruto but all she managed to blurt was a grunt. Just like Naruto, Sakura had to do some core exercises and running around. She also had to do tons of squats, sit UPS, pull UPS, push UPS and even more sit-ups, but this time hanging off a tree branch. The look of pure joy visible in Kakashi's eye when he had her do pull-ups with a rock tied to her legs will forever haunt her. You hurt me, Sakura-chan. I thought we had a great time together. Kakashi mocking her only irked her more. If Sakura had the strength to do it, she would have flipped him off. How was training with Guy, Naruto? Kakashi was curious about how things had been with his self-proclaimed eternal rival. Youthful at first, Naruto thought the whole youth speech was fun. Now he couldn't even think of the word without wanting to hit his own head really hard. You can both rest for a little bit before having lunch. I brought you a balanced meal to replenish your energy. And before you ask, Naruto, no, it isn't ramen, said Kakashi, much to the young boy's chagrin. Ramen is good and I won't forbid you to eat it, but you also need to eat more stuff. Without a proper and balanced diet you will always be short. Is that what you want? Asked Kakashi. Naruto was quick to shake his head. If eating a little less ramen was what it took for him to grow taller, then so be it. He was very self-conscious about his height. I understand you didn't have anyone to teach you properly, so I will add cooking to your lessons. Luckily for you, I'm a very good cook, said Kakashi while puffing his chest, not that the collapsed genin could see it anyway. Kakashi felt a little sad about having to teach Naruto. It wasn't that he didn't want to, he just felt like he should have a long time ago. He knew the Sandaime constantly treated Naruto to lunch, but that wasn't enough for a boy who loved eating ramen 24/7. He was going to make this right now though, better late than never. After the duo finished resting, the team started to eat. Kakashi had decided he would be putting more trust on his team, so he lowered his mask for them to see while they ate without making a big deal out of it. Sadly for him, the genin were so hungry and focused on their food they didn't even notice their loss. Look alive, kiddos, we will start your ninjutsu training right now. Afterwards we will run some team drills, chakra control exercises, and I'll let you go. Kakashi grabbed a leaf from a tree and unsealed a lighting bulb out of a storage scroll from his pocket. Sakura, before you learn any Doton jutsu you must be able to control your affinity. You could learn Doton jutsus or jutsus of any other element without doing the exercise, but this will allow you to perform every jutsu with a lower cost. The same goes for you, Naruto, Kakashi told them, going into his sensei mode once again. The first step to mastering your affinity is to turn this leaf into a rock. To do it you need to focus your chakra in a steady flow around the leaf and harden it, he explained as he handed Sakura the leaf. He then walked towards Naruto and handed him a light bulb. Yours, Naruto, is a bit trickier. What you have to do is channel your chakra into the light bulb. You should be able to feel a spark if you try to focus your affinity. Once you do, hang on to it and direct it. Too little and it won't turn on. Too much and you'll overcharge it and maybe even make it explode. He really hoped Naruto's light bulb would explode at some point. Kakashi felt like it was wishing for Naruto to have a hard time, but he bought a lot of them and they weren't exactly cheap. This is a Chunin level exercise. Most shinobi like myself learn jutsu without mastering their affinity. Kakashi was a prodigy, hailed as a genius from a very young age. He managed to learn different jutsu before starting work on his nature transformation and even more after he got the Sharingan. Had he done the exercises earlier he probably would have had a much easier journey through the ranks. I'm having you do this so you'll have an easier time down the road and more efficient use of your chakra. What does that mean, sensei? Asked Naruto. When a shinobi gains control of their natural affinity, the jutsus they use become less taxing on their reserves and more effective. That's what I like to call elemental mastery. Naruto and Sakura both made wow faces, and that for some reason made Kakashi feel incredibly good. He even started subconsciously puffing his chest. That doesn't mean you won't be learning any jutsu until you master the exercises. I will give you each a few jutsu from each of your affinities including wind. We are doing this so you don't waste a lot of chakra, speaking of which, said Kakashi, getting his genin's attention. Chakra control is a very important skill to have, especially for the more complicated and fine arts like genjutsu, Iryo ninjutsu, and to a certain degree fuinjutsu. That earned a groan from Naruto. Chakra control exercises were a pain in the ass for him, and now he will have to do them constantly if he ever hoped to become good at fuinjutsu. We will do nature transformation for a while and then we'll train your control. You know how to climb trees already, but you're going to practice until doing so becomes instinctual. When that is finished we'll move towards water walking. Is that clear? Yes, sensei. Get to work then. Kakashi was proud of his genin. They were dedicated and knew how to work hard. He didn't expect them to master their affinities for at least a month, but seeing them try was fun. He'll arrange for Asuma to teach them wind after they finish this. The sound of glass shattering interrupted Kakashi's thoughts, and he turned around to see Naruto holding a broken light bulb. He chuckled and gave Naruto a new one. This should be fun. That was great. We'll meet again tomorrow, same time, same place. Dismissed. After exchanging goodbyes, Sakura left quickly. She wasn't in the best of shapes and she was very aware about it, but Kakashi's training had been torture for her. It was good Tsutsuji got her out of that stupid diet. If she could, she would actually eat a horse right now. Before leaving, Naruto had one more thing to do. The last time he talked to Kakashi alone, he left saying some stuff that the Jonin maybe didn't want, and he felt like he needed to apologize. That's why he walked up to his sensei looking a bit nervous. Kakashi-sensei, can I talk to you for a minute? Asked the nervous blonde. Kakashi was a bit confused at first when Naruto started referring to him as sensei again. He knew Naruto would and should always refer to him as sensei when they were on official shinobi business like training, but that was already over by now. But he understood the boy needed time to process everything that was just revealed to him though. Naruto never knew his parents, and even though he wished for them terribly, putting a name to them was even more painful for him. He felt incredibly happy when he found who his mother was, when he found out she loved him. He also felt incredibly sad, but the Sandaime explained to him it was bound to happen. Giving the person you longed for a face and a name allows you to feel connected, but it also allows you to feel their absence even more. Kakashi understood Naruto was going through a similar grief again, and he wouldn't push him into anything. Yes, Naruto? Asked Kakashi, shaking his head away from his thoughts. Naruto took a deep breath before answering. Well, I just wanted to sesari kuz last night ikaldaya yanotha tonda didn't ask before no wandide and 20 autobune comfortable or something to be it's just the twelio no e dash Naruto, please slow down for me, okay? All things considered, Kakashi was surprised by Naruto's lung capacity. Naruto sighed. He was hoping Kakashi would catch all of that quickly and he wouldn't have to talk about this for long, but it would seem that wasn't the case. It's just that I dash another sigh. I called you Nii-san last night and it was kinda a spur of the moment, you know? It's not really a big deal, I guess. Konohamaru calls me that and we're not related. I guess I just don't want you to be uncomfortable. It's just that you said my dad was like a dad to you too, you know. Kakashi now understood what this was all about and knelt in front of Naruto while ruffling his hair. I was surprised for sure, but I do like the idea of having a little brother. Naruto looked at him and released a breath he didn't know he was holding. His visible eye watered a little and he hugged Kakashi out of nowhere. Kakashi was surprised by the hug, but after catching his bearings he returned it. It was easy to forget Naruto was still a 13-year-old boy, a 13-year-old who grew up with only one person he could truly call family, a 13-year-old who just lost his first and for the longest time only friend. How about we go to your place so I can teach you how to cook a good dinner, and we have that talk about your parents you asked for? Kakashi suggested. Naruto released Kakashi from the hug and smiled warmly at him. Yes, Nii-san. The dinner with Kakashi had gone pretty well, and Naruto was surprised to know Kakashi didn't lie when he said he was a good cook. After the dinner was done, Kakashi told Naruto he'd do good to see what was on his mother's scroll and promptly left so he could do it alone. That is what Naruto was doing right now. He opened the scroll with a drop of his blood and got access to a series of storage seals inscribed in the length of the whole thing. He got everything out of the scroll to see what it contained and found some books on sealing and a few scrolls he hadn't opened but guessed were clan Jutsu or Uzumaki seals. He was going to start reading through them when he found a letter addressed to him. Naruto's heart skipped a beat and he shakily picked the letter up before unfolding it. He wondered if Kakashi knew something like this was on the scroll and that's why he was so adamant on Naruto doing it alone, but he was thankful for it nonetheless. To Naruto. If you're reading this it means I'm dead. Minato said I was a little paranoid in thinking about writing this in the first place, but I think you can never be too sure, you know? I can't even imagine what it must have been like for you to grow up without a mother, and I hope to Kami you had your father to support you and guide you along the way. I wrote this letter in hopes that if it ever came to it you could carry on our legacy as Uzumaki and could keep on making our ancestors proud. The scroll Hiruzen gave you contains a copy of the Fuinjutsu guide that took me and your father from novices to true masters, a few of our clan seals and some of our clan jutsu, as well as information on something I'm pretty sure you will like as much as I do. Work very hard in your skills and in your studies. I was never the best at academic stuff, so I know how frustrating it can be, but you should still try your best. I hope you're living the best life you possibly can, and I hope you're happy. I don't know what age you're going to be when you read this, but I'm sure the old man won't wait more than 16 years, so I'll give you some instructions about the 3 shinobi prohibitions. The first one is money. Make sure to save most of the money you'll get as pay from your services as shinobi if you choose to be one. If not, make sure to save from your salary on whatever job you go for. Try not to become addicted to gambling and spend your money wisely. The second one is alcohol. Drinking is good, but you need to learn how to control yourself. Don't let that big pervert get you hooked on anything dangerous. The third and final prohibition is women. To be honest, I don't really care who you date as long as it is a good person like your mother. Just make sure to love her a lot. Make good friends. You don't need to have a lot as long as they're good and loyal people. I don't know what you're doing now, but there's very little that you could do short of defecting and becoming a missing nin that could make me mad at you. At the end of this letter there's a seal holding a picture of your father, you and I, kinda. If you had to read this it means I wasn't there for you, but always remember that your mother is immensely proud of you and loves you very very much. Databane. Uzumaki Kushina. Tears fell on the paper Naruto was holding with shaking hands. He was beyond glad. He had this to feel connected to his mother, but he couldn't help but feel sad at the fact that she isn't there for him. After Naruto calmed down a little, he channeled some chakra in the seal at the corner of the letter and unsealed a picture. In the picture was a tall man with blonde spiky hair wearing the Konoha shinobi uniform and a white robe with red flames in the bottom. Hugging a beautiful woman with long crimson hair and the most beautiful violet eyes he has ever seen. She wore a green dress on top of a white undershirt and was very very pregnant. Naruto looked at the beautiful picture of the family he never knew and hugged it tightly close to his heart for a few minutes. After his reminiscence was over, Naruto started going through the material left for him. He sorted out the books on Fuinjutsu and supplementary scrolls based on the level and sealed them in a separate storage scroll. He would go over all of that with his Jiji as soon as he got the chance. Next he found a scroll with the Uzumaki Taijutsu style katas Guy had already given him, so he led them on the scroll it came from. Next he found a beautiful katana and a scroll with his mother's Kenjutsu style. Naruto wasn't sure if he was going to be a swordsman. He wanted to make his mother proud, but he could do that in different ways. He still vowed to learn the style to perfection even if he didn't feel like using a sword was for him. He might not want to be a Kenjutsu master, but that didn't mean he couldn't pass on his new katana and style to someone else. He then found a scroll that contained some Uzumaki seals and barriers just like his mother's letter said. He couldn't really make heads or tails of any of that yet, so he led them in the scroll they came from. Lastly, Naruto found another much smaller scroll protected by a blood seal. He cut his finger open and put some of his blood on the seal to reveal its contents, and found what his mother said he would probably like as much as her. In the scroll were instructions to use a special Uzumaki Keki I Genkai. Naruto was worried he might not have inherited it from his mother, but he tried not to worry about something he wasn't sure of yet. She believed he would, and that was enough reassurance for him. Kongo Fusaha? That does sound cool. -2 months before the Chunin exams. The training of the genin in Team 7 has been very productive so far. After weeks of training, both Naruto and Sakura mastered the first step of their nature transformations. Kakashi had also arranged a meeting between them and Sarutobi Asuma, the son of the Sandaime, the only shinobi with a wind nature Kakashi knew in the village. Training with him had been fairly easy, and it was good for Naruto and Sakura to bond with the members of Team 10. Naruto now felt like he could call Koji and Shikamaru friends. The whiskered boy was now making his way to the Sandaime's house through the Sarutobi compound to continue his Fuinjutsu lessons with the Kami no Shinobi. He has been making steady progress and quickly reached level 4 out of 10 and was very close to reaching level 5. The Hokage had explained it was from that point on that leveling up became much harder and took a lot more time, but he was still excited. He just couldn't understand why he ever thought Fuinjutsu was boring. It was like the coolest thing ever. The Sandaime still congratulated Naruto for reaching such a level in so little time. Few people got there and not many were able to grasp the complex art that is sealing. Naruto's use of Kage Bunshin to speed his process was remarkable. The Sandaime advised him to use a Kage Bunshin to study while he practiced his calligraphy and put in practice some of the things he learned. All in all, Naruto was now one of the few competent Fuinjutsu practitioners in the village. He wasn't the best by any means, but he was getting there. Naruto-kun. How is my future Hokage? It's been a long time since I've seen you. A guard in his grandfather's house interrupted his thoughts, greeting him warmly. I'm doing fine, Keiya-san. Naruto beamed at his comment and gave him a big toothy grin. The last time Naruto had been here was when he was still a young kid. His lessons with the Hokage had all taken place in the man's office twice a week, but he was told to come to his house this time around. Here to see Hokage-sama? Asked the guard. Yes, he told me to come this time around. Is he busy? No. He said he was waiting on someone, and I'm guessing that someone was you. Did you notice Konohamaru following me? Since I stepped foot in the compound, I'm just ignoring him, interrupted Naruto. Alright then, off you go, the guard chuckled. Sarutobi Konohamaru was the Hokage's biological grandson. Naruto knew about his existence but never actually got the chance to meet him up until shortly after he graduated the academy, when he was turning in his picture for his shinobi ID. Apparently Konohamaru knew Naruto was the surrogate grandson of the Hokage and wasn't very happy with not getting the attention all to himself, and tried to ambush him and take him down but tripped on his scarf. Naruto laughed at him and that irked Konohamaru even more. He confronted him and got hit by the older boy in return. That's what made Konohamaru admire Naruto. He treated him like he would treat anyone else. He didn't see him as the honorable grandson and even called him by his name instead of his title. That's when Konohamaru decided Naruto was the one who would be his boss. He actually quit on it for a bit when he found out Naruto also wanted to become Hokage, but then he figured he could just be the Hokage after him. Naruto was about to enter the old man's house but decided to confront Konohamaru before his training. "Konohamaru, you need to work on your disguises." Konohamaru got out of his square-shaped rock and addressed Naruto. "Nii-chan, let's play ninja," demanded the young kid. "I'm sorry Konohamaru, I have lessons with Gigi right now, maybe later," suggested the whiskered blonde. Konohamaru puffed his cheeks and stomped his feet on the ground in annoyance. "You always say the same." Konohamaru sticked his tongue out and puffed his cheeks in protest. "Tell you what Saru, next time I have a free day I'll play with you, alright?" proposed Naruto, unknowingly giving the young boy the same nickname Hiruzen-sensei had given him a long time ago. The child simply nodded and happily left Naruto to do his own thing with the Hokage. Naruto walked in the house and saw the old man sitting in his living room in front of a wooden box. "Hey Gigi," greeted Naruto. "Welcome Naruto-kun, I take it Konohamaru-kun didn't cause you any trouble?" asked the Hokage. Naruto didn't ask how the old man knew about their encounter, he was already used to him knowing everything. "Not at all, I should make some time to play with him though, he's persistent you know," joked Naruto. The Hokage chuckled and smiled warmly at him. "Indeed he is. So, why are we doing the lesson here today, Gigi?" asked the curious blonde. "There's something special I had made for you and it's now ready. Do you remember what you told me about your mother's sword?" asked the Hokage, and he received a nod from the young shinobi in front of him. "I had these made for you," said Sarutobi, giving Naruto the wooden box. Naruto opened the box and in them were two short black metal staffs with gray tips. "These are twin staffs made of chakra-conducting metal. The gray tips are ideal for you to channel your lightning affinity and electrify your enemies. Using the twin staffs dual-handed if you choose to do so would work pretty good with your taijutsu style," explained the Hokage. Naruto got both staff of the box to get a feel of them and was surprised with how good they felt on his hands. This truly was the type of weapon he wanted to use. "Do you see the little seals engraved in the Unko Lord tips?" asked Hiruzen, and Naruto nodded. "If you put them both together and channel chakra into the seals they'll merge and create a large staff you can also use to fight and add your wind affinity to your fighting." Naruto did as he was told by the wise man. To his surprise the seals glowed a little and then the staffs became one without a single fissure visible. If one didn't know it was originally two staffs you wouldn't be able to tell. "Do you like it, Naruto-kun?" asked Hiruzen. Naruto undid the seal, put the staff back in the box and hugged the man tightly. "I love them, Gigi, thank you so much," said Naruto. "That is great news. I'll give you a scroll with my own Bojutsu style for you to learn if you choose to do so." Hiruzen was hoping Naruto would say yes. He wanted someone in his family to pick up on the art and was sad that his son leaned more towards the trench knives. It was thinking of him that he thought of having this gift made for Naruto. "Yes Gigi, I'll learn it and kick your old ass with it Tobia." Naruto, always the energetic one. The Hokage chuckled and patted the boy's back. The boy could use the staffs in two different ways. The seal in them allowed him to turn it into a full staff he could use to practice Bojutsu. It would make Sarutobi extremely glad to have him inherit his style. He would have to send a thank you gift to his student for coming up with the seal. He could have done it himself had he wanted to, but he thought it would be nice to involve the perverted Sunin in the gift somehow. "There's a strap in the box you can tie in your back to carry them with you. Now, how are your studies going?" "Well, I think I'm doing well, though I did trap Sakura-chan yesterday on that barrier you had me learn by accident." "So, how was training with Guy today Naruto?" asked Kakashi. The teacher and student duo were having dinner together in Naruto's apartment. It had become something of a tradition between them to have dinner together at least once a week. At first it was mostly to talk about Naruto's parents, but now they just talked about whatever was on their minds and bonded with each other. Naruto appreciated having a big brother figure he could talk to. He always had the Sandaime, but he was a busy man and Naruto didn't want to trouble him with unimportant stuff while he was working, but Kakashi had made it a point to be available for him ever since they started training. Kakashi appreciated the change of pace in his life. He enjoyed being able to lay back a little and just talk about anything and advise Naruto on whatever. The boy relationship grew leaps and bounds in the 2 months they had been hanging out. "It's been good, Guy-sensei is great to be. The only problem is that Niji guy," said Naruto. "Niji? The Hyuga prodigy?" was Kakashi's curious reply. "Yes. He's super rude and he's always talking about some stupid fate stuff and says Lee's a failure. He said that about me too, you know. He stopped sometime after I learned the Shuriken, but he never even apologized. He just said it was fated I would learn it. Fate this, fate that, to Niji that's what it was all about, and Naruto was so sick of it by now. He got incredibly annoyed with Niji every time he trained with Team 9 because of him. Lee and Guy's youthful talk became bearable when you got used to it, but his constant belittlement of everyone he didn't deem worthy irked him. He does seem like an interesting character. Kakashi has a good idea of why the Hyuga boy acts the way he does, but it isn't something he can just go around telling everybody. Whatever. There's something I want to show you," said Naruto. Kakashi was taken aback by Naruto's sudden mood change, but he complied anyway and gave Naruto a nod. The whiskered blonde stood in front of him and closed his visible eye while he concentrated. After minutes of intense concentration, a golden chakra chain shot out of Naruto's forearm and swirled around him for a little before retracting and going back into his arm. "Neat trick, huh?" Naruto had a cocky smile on his face, very aware that Kakashi would be surprised. Kakashi's eye was the size of a plate and his mouth hung open enough that it almost touched the floor. After picking his jaw from the floor, Kakashi got himself back together and started laughing. "Yes, Naruto, neat trick. A month before the Chunin exams. What are we doing here?" asked a curious Naruto. Kakashi had taken him out of the village on his free day and brought him to the top of a mountain they were just done securing. They had more traps than necessary in Naruto's opinion. "It's time you learn how to properly use your Sharingan, Naruto," explained Kakashi. Up until this point, Kakashi had stressed to Naruto the importance of not becoming reliant on any tool. He only allowed Naruto to use the Sharingan to get used to his predictive abilities during their spars, but nothing more. It also served to ease some of Dr. Teruya's concerns. She was beyond confident in the effectiveness of Naruto's new eye, but she had also burned into Kakashi's brain the importance of letting Naruto's body time to heal and assimilate the new eye, meaning a few weeks of rest as opposed to using it minutes after the transplant. That struck Kakashi a bit low. She had apologized after, saying that it wasn't her intention to insult him. She only wanted to make him realize their experiences weren't the same when it came to how they got their transplanted eyes. Maybe having been forced to use the eye right after he got it was the reason why Kakashi suffered great strain from using it. That was the beginning of her new project. Dr. Teruya was researching a way for Naruto to be able to turn his Sharingan eye on and off. She knew it would never be possible for Kakashi because of his circumstances. Naruto not only had a somewhat safe transplant but also a formidable body and incredible genes. She firmly believed it to be possible. Back in reality, the boy in question started feeling a little uneasy. He was excited to learn how to control Sasuke's gift, but he also felt worried he might disappoint his late teammate. "We'll stay here for the night and we'll return to the village tomorrow morning. From now on we will come here once a week until you can use your eye without trouble." Naruto nodded at his sensei's explanation and got ready. This was going to be a hell of a weekend. A week before the Chunin exams. The genin in Team 7 had made excellent progress in these past few months. Naruto had taken to Fuinjutsu like a sponge and was fairly decent in Raitenjutsu, much to Kakashi's delight. Both him and Sakura were also versed in wind manipulation and had some futon jutsu on their belts. He had also made progress on his clan's Kekii Genkai, but that was his and Kakashi's little secret. The girl on Team 7 had taken a great liking to Genjutsu and had, according to Kakashi, a slightly concerning imagination. Naruto still can't decide if that was a compliment or not. She followed Kakashi's advice and managed to learn the basics of Iryo Ninjutsu, and to top it off she now had a few Doton Jutsu on her repertoire. Kakashi couldn't be more proud of his team and couldn't be more sure of the decision he had made regarding a certain upcoming event. "Here," said Kakashi, giving both of his students a paper slip. "These are the forms you need to fill out if you wish to participate in the Chunin exams," explained the Jounin. "The Chunin exams?" asked Sakura. "Yes, this was one of the reasons I trained you so hard the past 4 months, I can say without a doubt you both are more than ready for this," said Kakashi, giving them both an eye smile. "Don't we need a whole team to participate?" asked Naruto, a bit sad that he won't have his fallen teammate there with him. "You are a whole team, Naruto, the Hokage, and I decided it was in your best interest to remain as you are. While it isn't common for a team with less than 3 members to enter the exams, it is not unheard of," reassured Kakashi. "You don't have to participate if you don't want to. I also don't expect you to land a promotion on your first attempt. Treat this as a training exercise and give it your all, okay?" asked the Jounin. Both genin nodded and smiled at each other. "Very well then, go to room 301 at this time in 7 days with your forms ready if you wish to participate, Jane." Kakashi poofed in a cloud of smoke and the genin were left to their own devices. "Wanna hear something I learned on the guitar?" asked Naruto. Sakura quickly nodded. Every time Naruto learned a new song he played it and sang it to her. Naruto was a really good singer. It was a shame only Sakura got to listen to him sing. The day before the exams. "Team 7 feels a bit off nowadays, don't you think?" asked Sakura. "You mean without him?" replied Naruto. "I think you are both looking at this the wrong way," said Kakashi, gaining confused looks from both of his students. "Sasuke will always be a part of Team 7. He said with a soft look in his eye. "How can we be Team 7 if we're missing a member?" asked Naruto. "Sasuke will always be a part of the team." Kakashi looked into one of his vest's pouches and out of it got a small Uchiha crest pin, which he then put in above his heart just like his students. "As long as we always carry him with us." Naruto and Sakura both stood up and walked to their sensei, embracing him together. Sasuke might not be present with them, but if they tried hard enough, they could still feel him watching over them. Chapter 6. "Thanks for the food, Mabuki-san." The bundle of energy that was Naruto hugged her tightly. The woman chuckled and patted the boy's head like one would do a pet. "Think nothing of it, my boy. Take care of my Sakura-chan for me, will you?" The annoyed look on Sakura's face wasn't lost on her mother, but she chose to ignore it anyway. Mabuki always felt like she was too old to care when it came to teasing her daughter. "Will do, ma'am," replied Naruto with a smile. Today was the day they had been waiting for ever since their sensei had informed them of their recommendation for the Chunin exams. Today was the day they got to prove themselves. Sakura had decided to invite Naruto over for breakfast the first day of the exams so they would be able to get to the academy together. She didn't want to admit it, but she was very nervous. It was hard not to. After months of arduous training, the moment to prove that it was all worth it had arrived. The fear of failure was hard to avoid. Naruto, on the other hand, was just thinking about how much he loved Sakura's mom. She's a great cook and she's great at telling embarrassing stories of the pink-haired girl. The fact that Mabuki told Naruto embarrassing stories about her annoyed Sakura to no end. It's not that he isn't nervous at all, he's just too good at hiding it. he had decided the best way to avoid feeling nervous was acting like there was nothing to feel nervous about. Is denial truly denial if you know you're in denial? The pair of genin were now walking together on their way to the academy. They still had some time left to spare, so they were walking at a slow pace, taking in their surroundings and appreciating the atmosphere. They definitely weren't stalling. Naruto-kun, did you see the squared rock following us? There was indeed a rock in the form of a square following them around. It had been trailing them for so long that Sakura had begun to think she was imagining things. Yes, Sakura-chan, I saw the rock, replied Naruto. The blonde in question was just so tired of being stalked by weird-shaped rocks at this point. He stopped in his tracks before taking a deep breath and turning around to address their stalkers. Konohamaru, I've told you already. There aren't perfectly squared rocks in nature, Databia, explained Naruto calmly. Muttering was heard from inside the rock, and it was only then both Naruto and Sakura noticed the rock had 3 pairs of eye holes. What the F dash? Tada! Yelled a small group of children jumping out of the rock before going into a fit of coughs because of the colored smoke they used in their presentation. Naruto was trembling in annoyance. How could they mess up such an easy entrance? We used too much smoke, explained Konohamaru sheepishly. Who are your friends, Konohamaru? Anger momentarily gone, Naruto found himself analyzing the new faces. The 3 kids jumped into a pose and started going through what Sakura assumed to be rehearsed introductions. My name is Mogi and I'm the sassiest kunoichi in Konoha. The girl has light orange hair tied in 2 pigtails on the sides and a permanent blush on her cheeks. The sassiest? Wondered Sakura with a frown. My name is Udon and I love math, said a dark-haired boy with glasses and a running nose. Lame. Of all the things he could have said, he chose that. Naruto really doesn't understand kids these days. I'm Konohamaru, the strongest shinobi in the village, and together we are. Debatable. An amused smile made its way in Sakura's face as she compared the boy to her own teammate. The Konohamaru Corps, yelled the 3 of them together. Both Naruto and Sakura's sweat dropped at their presentation. It still amazed Sakura how Naruto seemed to be a magnet for weirdness. Play ninja with us, boss? Asked Konohamaru. A real ninja playing ninja? Oh my! Sakura was aware that Naruto sometimes plays with the young Sarutobi. At first she was a bit saddened by it, to think little children were capable of appreciating him without much trouble, while she rejected his advances for years. And not just the romantic ones. Ignoring Sakura's mocking, Naruto smiled at the children. I can't today, Konohamaru, the Chunin exams will start soon. Oh right, I heard the old man talking about that. I didn't know you were going to be there, said Konohamaru. The old man? Asked Sakura. He means the Sandaime. Naruto sometimes forgets that not everyone is as familiar with the Hokage as he is. Konohamaru had just now noticed Sakura was even there upon hearing her question, and his childlike imagination started running through the possible reasons why they would be together right now. He picked the dumb one. Is she your girlfriend, boss? Asked Konohamaru, giving Naruto a suggestive wink. No, and not because of a lack of trying, you know, said Naruto, rubbing his head sheepishly. Naruto started feeling a dangerous aura emanating from his teammate after he made that comment, and decided it was probably for the best to correct that. I mean Sakura is a great friend and esteemed teammate whom I love very much. Tabia, explained Naruto quickly while waving his arms frantically in front of him. Oh. Makes sense, she's flatter than a plank. The silence that followed the bold and stupid statement Konohamaru had made was so deafening you could hear a pin drop, the only show of a reaction being Sakura's trembling body. What? Said a raging Sakura, slowly walking towards the boy with clear intentions of beating him down very painfully. Naruto jumped in the scene and grabbed Sakura from the back to try and restrain her long enough to give Konohamaru a chance to run for his life. "Run, Konohamaru! Let me go, Naruto!" Konohamaru decided Naruto was right and ran. At some point Sakura managed to squirm off of Naruto's hold and started chasing the boy. She wasn't going to really injure him much, but she was going to politely explain to him what's appropriate and what's not. The young Sarutobi ran as fast as he could and was finally feeling like he was going to escape his pursuer when he accidentally bumped into someone. "I'm sorry," he tried to apologize before being interrupted by a hand picking him up. It belonged to a teenager wearing what appeared to be a full cat bodysuit and purple makeup on his face. "That hurt you, little punk." "Let him go, Kankuro, you're going to make Gaara mad if we're late," said a blonde girl who carried a gigantic fan on her back. "Relax, sis, Gaara isn't here and I want to teach this punk a lesson," he said. "Whatever, just be quick." Kankuro was about to teach a lesson to the very frightened and trembling Konohamaru when both Naruto and Sakura emerged in the street being followed by Udon and Mogi. "Oi, catboy, let the kid go," said Naruto with a playful smirk. He loved pissing people off. "It's a battle suit," yelled Kankuro. With cat ears. Sakura joined in Naruto's game, giving him the perfect distraction to swiftly get Konohamaru out of danger. "What's up with the makeup? My friend's mom could give you a few lessons if you want to learn how to do it right, you know, no shame in wanting to look pretty," said Naruto, purposely angering his opposition even more. "It's war paint, you imbecile." Okay, let's calm down, put the kid down and we'll let you go." Naruto raised both of his hands in surrender as he tried to negotiate with them. "You'll let us go?" scoffed the blonde girl. Naruto knew this wasn't going to be easy, so he grabbed both of his staffs while Sakura grabbed a kunai from her pouch. "You're going to attack me while I still have the kid?" asked Kankuro with a smirk. Naruto smirked back and asked what kid, as the Konohamaru he was holding burst in a cloud of smoke. Kankuro was distracted enough by the disappearance of the kid that he didn't notice. The second Naruto creeping up behind him and putting the tip of one of his staffs in the back of his head at the same time the real one made electricity run to the ones in his hands. "Stand down," ordered Naruto, making sure Kankuro knew exactly what could happen to him if he didn't. The blonde girl quickly reached for her fan in hopes of freeing his brother, but a kunai placed on her neck stopped her from moving any further. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." The girl whose voice belonged to burst in a shower of cherry blossoms, revealing the Suna girl had been under the influence of her genjutsu. "You know," said Sakura, kunai still firmly in place. "Attacking the Hokage's grandson is more than enough grounds for a full-on war." Both Suna shinobi started sweating when they found out who the kid was. Suddenly, Naruto's head turned to look at a tree in the back of where they were. "Aren't you going to show yourself?" he asked, to seemingly no one. Suddenly a swirl of sand formed in the middle of the confrontation, revealing a boy around their age as the sand settled. "Kankuro, you're a disgrace to our village," said the red-haired boy who emerged from the sand. He was a fairly menacing individual with no eyebrows and a big gourd on his back. I am sorry, Gaara they dash." "Shut up or I'll kill you," he interrupted. Naruto and Sakura looked at each other and nodded before releasing both of their captives and backing off. "I apologize for their behavior. That was the fakest apology Sakura and Naruto had ever heard in their lives." Naruto was put off by this boy. His presence was troubling, his chakra felt dangerous and aggressive. The way both of his teammates appeared to be terrified of him did nothing to calm his nerves. "I take it you're here for the Chunin exams," said Sakura, receiving a nod from the red hair. "We'll be taking our leave now." They started walking down the street as he said that, both of his teammates on guard. He stopped halfway, much to the confusion of his teammates, and stared at Naruto. "You, what's your name?" I'm Uzumaki Naruto, what's your name? Sabaku no Gaara. Naruto's only response was a nod. He didn't really care about his name, but it seemed to him like that was the polite thing to do. I'll be seeing you in the exams, Uzumaki, said Gaara before walking back with his teammates and disappearing in the distance. Konohamaru, called out Naruto, making the hidden boy emerge from the bushes along with his friends. Go tell Jiji what happened, now. Konohamaru had never seen the young ninja look so serious before, and it honestly made him feel even more nervous. He decided it was best to comply and ran off as quickly as he could along with his friends to see his grandfather. What's wrong, Naruto? Questioned Sakura, catching up on her teammate's sudden mood change, and it put her on edge. That guy's chakra, it's not normal, replied Naruto. What do you mean it's not normal? She asked in return. It's powerful and aggressive, explained Naruto with a concerned look on his face, and there's two of them. There's two of what? Two chakras, he has two different chakras in his body. Naruto's confused expression tells Sakura not even he knew what it meant. How is that possible? Asked Sakura with something akin to concern in her voice. I don't know, I've never felt anything like him before. Naruto was rarely scared, he was pretty confident in his abilities, and he didn't doubt he could give Gaara a fight if he really wanted to, but his presence was screaming of danger and death. I think we should avoid them, Sakura. Well, we might as well go in, said Sakura looking at the main entrance of the academy building. Naruto nodded and both teammates walked in together. They made their way through the other applicants all to the main stairs of the building. They reached an upper level that had the room they were looking for, and Naruto was about to make his way there until he noticed something. There's chakra in the air, muttered Naruto, and Sakura nodded. It's Genjutsu, that room sign says 301, but this is the second floor. This must be a part of the test, explained Sakura, earning a nod from Naruto. They both decided it was for the best to simply ignore what was going on and move forward. It was a very basic genjutsu. If these people couldn't figure it out, they probably aren't up for the task in their opinion. Please let us in, begged a green-clad boy. I said no, you freak, exclaimed one of two genins who were stopping some of the aspiring genin from entering the door. Do you think that's a part of the test too? Asked Naruto quietly. Sakura shrugged, I think so. That's my friend Lee, he pointed out. I'm going to tell him, even if it means letting stupid Neji pass, grumbled Naruto as he made his way to Team 9. He was just about to get there when one of the guards kicked Lee and sent him flying. Normally that would be something to worry about, but after being beaten to a pulp multiple times in their taijutsu spars by the deceptively fast teen, Naruto knew the bushy-brow genin could have stopped that kick without so much as batting an eye. Why was Lee letting himself get hurt? Lee, are you alright? Mumbled Naruto to his fallen comrade. Naruto-kun. What youthful pleasure is finding you here in this youthful competition, declared the boy, standing up instantly and giving Naruto his trademark nice guy pose. Yes, I am alright, thank you for asking. Naruto got close to Lee and put a hand on his ear to speak quietly to him. Why are you letting that guy hit you? Asked Naruto with some concern. Oh, so you noticed, said Lee with a smile. Neji figured out this isn't the right floor, so we're making ourselves look weak. That explained why Tenten was currently begging to be allowed in still. Naruto was kinda hoping to see Neji begging too. Like that asshole would purposely make himself look weak, thought Naruto, biting his lip. He couldn't stop himself from being riled up by Neji's mere presence ever since the Hyuga first belittled his abilities and called him weak the day they met. Naruto had grown leaps and bounds in making himself more centered and calm, but people like him still made some of his old habits resurface. Still, he knew better than start a fight right now. Well, Sakura and I will be going now. I guess I'll see you the dash half said Naruto before being interrupted by Lee rushing fast like a bullet to stand in front of his teammate. Oh Sakura-san. I love you. Announced Lee. What? Yelled both Sakura and Naruto together. You are an angel sent from the sky. Said Lee sending a kiss to Sakura that somehow managed to become real. Sakura dodged Lee's kiss. Only for him to start sending more and more of them until she ended on the floor. I will keep dodging them more and more. Yelled Sakura after standing up. You didn't have to dodge them all like that. Said Lee while looking at the ground in defeat. I think it's best we go, see you later Lee. Said Naruto, grabbing Sakura by the arm and rushing to the appointed room. After Sakura recovered from her encounter with Lee, both members of Team 7 made their way through the academy's corridors in search of the room where they would be taking their first exam. Yo! Said Kakashi with an eye smile and his all-too-familiar orange book in hand. Sensei? Asked Sakura. I'm glad you both made it, though I had no doubt you would. Declared Kakashi. Both young shinobi beamed at their sensei's praise and smiled brightly at him. Kakashi chuckled and addressed them once more. Stick together and you'll do great, Jane. He was proud of his team, there was no doubt in his mind that they were going to ace the exams and reach the finals, he had trained them to guarantee it. Hence the reason why he actually made a bet on it. They better meet his expectations or Kakashi would be losing a decent amount of money. After saying goodbye, the silver-haired Jounin poofed in a cloud of smoke, as was his preferred method of exiting pretty much every room. Both teens looked at each other one more time before nodding and entering the room together. The doors of the room opened to reveal a gigantic crowd of people already waiting there for the exams to start. How many of them would there be without the genjutsu filter in the lower floor? They wondered. After going in, Naruto and Sakura walked to a corner of the room to wait for the exams to begin. Sakura suggested he get a feel of everyone around him and Naruto complied. Not a single chakra stood out for him, he had already felt Gaara's before and as disturbing as it was, there was nothing new about it. He was just about to stop focusing on everyone around him when he noticed a signature in the multitude that somehow felt familiar. He knew he hadn't felt it before, but it reminded him of something, someone. He was interrupted before he could focus on it. Oi Sakura! Naruto! Called Ino, who had just entered the room along with her teammates. Ino's loud entrance made the whole room turn their attention to the rookies, some of them even letting a little bit of their killing intent slip out. The rookie genin that gathered were immediately on edge, except for Ino seemed oblivious to it. Quiet down, you troublesome woman, said Shikamaru, making Ino realize the situation they now were in, giving her friends a sheepish smile. It's nice to see you guys here, said a now smiling Naruto. Shikamaru for his part just stood lazily once again and sighed. You're a part of this too? What a drag. You could try and be a little more excited, Shikamaru, remarked Ino. The lazy Nara just looked at her and took a deep breath. No. Sakura, Naruto, and Koji all chuckled at their friend's behavior. Those two could act like they hated the other's very being 1 minute and magically turn into an old married couple in the other. At least it was fun to see them bickering with each other. This was hardly the time though. How are you feeling, Koji? Asked Sakura, looking for something to change the topic. Koji seemed to catch up on it and got ready to answer. I'm a little nervous, but I thin dash. The strongest rookie team has arrived, declared a young shinobi wearing a gray hoodie. He has dark brown hair and 2 red fang-like marks in both of his cheeks, smugness clear on his visage. Absolutely everyone in the room turned to the door and glared at the arriving team. Kiba, I think it's best that you shut up now. Why? Because now everyone's attention is on us, said Abarame Shino, one of Kiba's teammates. He's wearing a long trench coat that covers half of his face and a pair of dark sunglasses. Kiba gave his teammate an apologetic smile and walked to his former classmates. "It looks like the whole gang's back together," said Kiba before adding jokingly, "Well, almost all of us." Team 10 immediately turned their faces at him as well as his teammates. They just couldn't believe he would go and say something like that to Naruto and Sakura. Even Kiba seemed surprised by what he just said, if him covering his mouth was anything to go by. He really didn't mean to say something that would hurt either Naruto or Sakura. They weren't exactly friends, but he cared a great deal for them. He just had a moment of idiocy. "You better watch your mouth, Mud," said Naruto, looking angrily at him. Sasuke's death was still a sore spot for both of them, especially Naruto, and while it didn't hurt either him or his teammate to talk about their fallen teammate, Naruto didn't appreciate people making fun of the last Uchiha. Kiba knew he had been the one to mess up, but Naruto's comment got him riled up and now was too invested in their little fight to stand down or apologize, even if it was his fault. He might care for them, but he is an Inyazuka, and they're a clan of prideful people. Granted, the Inyazuka are people perfectly capable of admitting their mistakes, but that seemed to slip Kiba's mind. Before it could all escalate, Sakura decided to intervene. "Calm down, Naruto-kun, he didn't mean it like that," said Sakura, turning to look menacingly at Kiba while a dangerous aura started emanating from her. "Right?" she asked with a devious smile, promising of danger. Kiba just gulped and quickly nodded. Sakura was of course not happy with Kiba's joke, but she knew he didn't mean to insult them. She was surprised no one in his team had managed to water down his attitude though. Not her problem, she figures. She's convinced that eventually Hinata will snap at him, and that will certainly calm him down. With their little confrontation over, Kiba and Naruto finally realized how much unwanted attention they had gotten on themselves and their teams. "You should all quiet down," said a tall guy with silver hair tied in a ponytail while adjusting his glasses. "You're already the main target as it is." "And why would that be?" questioned Shikamaru, having noticed him approaching before his friends. "Take a look around you." He motioned to the rest of the room. "You guys are the only rookies, they think you're an easy target." That earned him a few scoffs. "Who are you?" asked Shikamaru. "My name is Yakushi Kabuto." Just after Kabuto finished introducing himself, Team 9 entered through the doors, making Kabuto look quickly at them before going back to what he was doing. "I have information on the exams and everyone in it, and I'm willing to give it to you," said Kabuto. "Why would you say anything to us?" asked Shikamaru, raising an eyebrow. "Because we're all Konoha ninja and we should help each other," said Kabuto with a smile. "Just tell me anyone you wish to know something about and I'll tell you what there is to know using these." He pulled out a deck of cards. "What are those?" asked Naruto. "These are my shinobi information cards. They contain information on everyone in the exams and only work with the use of my chakra." Kabuto spiked Naruto's interest. Those cards seemed like Fuinjutsu, and Naruto was a sucker for Fuinjutsu. To demonstrate, Kabuto activated a card that revealed a map of the elemental nations. In it you could see every village that had sent participants to Konoha and how many of them they had sent. "So, anyone in mind?" asked the silver-haired Sabaku no Gara. No matter how hard he looked in his brain for an answer, Naruto had been so far unable to figure out how or why he had felt two different sources of chakra in his body. He was hoping Kabuto had something that would help him understand. "Uzumaki Naruto." Kiba didn't like feeling left out, so he asked for the first name that came to mind, still not over their little confrontation. All the rookies turned to look at him. He knew it was probably rude, but in his mind Naruto had been rude too, so it was fair. "You know their names?" "That's taking the fun out of it, but okay," said the older teen, looking through his cards. Shikamaru didn't trust this guy at all, and he couldn't understand why his friends did, but he decided to just watch it all play out before jumping to conclusions. "Sabaku no Gara from Suna, teammates, Sabaku no Tamari and Sabaku no Kankuro, his own siblings. Has a record of 27 C rank, 48 B rank and 8 A rank missions. Hear this, he's never been hurt before. Said Kabuto with something akin to admiration in his voice. You could read everybody's thoughts when looking at their faces after that revelation. Even Niji dropped his stoicism to look surprised. I don't have anything on his fighting style, unfortunately. He is from a different village after all. He added. Shikamaru was even more skeptical of him now, knowing that much is already way more than he should know, especially of someone from a different village, thought the Nara. Uzumaki Naruto from Konoha, teammates, Harano Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke, Kia. He's a known user of one of Konoha's kinjutsu, the Kage Bunshin, and has been spotted using Futon and Raiten Jutsu. His preferred weapon of choice are the twin staffs. Everyone made a pause to look at their friend. Naruto was uncomfortable with people knowing that much about him. He has a record of 22 D rank, 1 B rank, and a single A rank mission. Pretty impressive for a genin if I do say so myself. Finished Kabuto, making Naruto stop dead in his tracks when the older teen mentioned a B rank. You're more involved in this than I would like, Naruto. This incident will be classified as a B rank mission on your record. You helped track a spy, which means this mission will be kept a secret, known to only the people involved. Is that clear? How? Why does he know about that? Asked Naruto in his mind. Shikamaru was seemingly the only to notice Naruto's inner turmoil, but even if he didn't understand exactly what it was, he knew Kabuto said something he shouldn't have known, furthermore proving his suspicion of him. He knows stuff he shouldn't, that's obvious, but why? Is this a part of the test? No, we're the only people that have been approached by him, or anyone else for that matter. Is he a spy? If so, a spy for whom? This whole thing is troublesome, thought Shikamaru with clear annoyance in his face. What can you tell us about our competition? Asked Niji with his forever stoic voice. There's only 4 countries competing in the exams, Konoha of course, Suna, Aim, and some shinobi from a village named Otagakura no Sato. They're a new and small village, so they only sent 1 team. Said Kabuto. A group of 3 shinobi wearing headbands with a musical note on them heard Kabuto's comment and found it insulting, so they decided to show him a lesson. Who are you calling small? Hear me out, you imbecile. After this whole thing is over, Oto will come up on top and show you all who's boss. Said a genin from the Sound Village with a heavily bandaged face and a large jacket with fur. The Oto genin launched forward and attacked Kabuto. The silver-haired genin reacted in time and got a kunao out of his tool pouch. The Oto genin swung at him with one of his arms, but Kabuto managed to dodge the hit by leaping back. He smirked at him, but suddenly he dropped to the ground and started shaking. His glasses shattered and then he started vomiting. Everyone was looking in concern because no one understood just what exactly the Oto genin did to him. Before anyone could react, the doors of the room burst open and in a cloud smoke a man wearing a long black trench coat and a black bandana entered the room, followed by several chinin wearing grey uniforms. Listen up, you maggots. From this point any kind of fighting is prohibited unless given strict permission by a proctor. Failing to abide by the rules is grounds for disqualification. Is that clear? Asked the man with a menacing tone. Everyone get in line. Leave your forms here and go to your assigned seats. Said the proctor. After everyone had turned in their paperwork and moved to their assigned seats, the man addressed them all once again. My name is Marino Ibiki and I'm your first proctor. The first part of the exam will consist of a written test. After you're given your paper, you will have 45 minutes to answer the 9 questions written in it. When the 45-minute mark is reached, I will give you the 10th question and explain its rules. Do I make myself clear so far? Asked Ibiki and received nods from everyone in the seats. You will begin the test with 10 points, fail to answer a question or answer wrong and you lose a point. You will also be graded as a team, that means that if one of you fails, your team fails with you. The chinin in the room are here to monitor you the whole time. If you're caught cheating you will be deducted 2 points every time you do so. Any questions? Asked Ibiki, getting some raised hands from the applicants. No questions. Excellent. You may begin. Everyone started going through their tests only to see the questions were incredibly hard to answer, if not impossible. Save for a few who knew it all in the room, no one in this room could hope to know the answers to all these questions. Naruto was concentrating hard. There had to be something else he wasn't noticing. Hinata, who was seated next to him, noticed his struggle and realized he had written nothing in his test. "And Naruto-kun," muttered Hinata, getting Naruto's attention. "Why you can copy F from my exam if why you want." Hinata was blushing furiously and Naruto barely managed to catch what she said in between stutters. Once the words registered in his mind he felt touched that she would try and help him just to be kind. He was about to take her up on her offer but suddenly thought of the consequences of cheating. He didn't want Hinata to get in trouble for him. He isn't that desperate. There were a few questions he could actually answer. "Don't worry Hinata, I wouldn't want to get you in trouble, you know," said Naruto, giving Hinata a smile. "He worries about me," thought Hinata, blushing at the implications of her beloved crush being worried about her. "I should have taken her up on her offer. I wouldn't want her to lose points though." "Wait, lose points?" asked Naruto to himself. "Iruka-sensei would take our test if we were caught copying from someone. It's almost as if they wanted us to cheat." Giving himself a mental high five for figuring out the test, Naruto started to brainstorm ideas. That was it, they are supposed to cheat. That is the point of this test. Naruto should have known. Kakashi has been drilling the whole look underneath the underneath mantra for quite a while now. The question was how to cheat. He could just copy from Hinata but he would be easily caught that way. He looked around and noticed a guy in front of him who seemed to know all the answers. Naruto then noticed he would write them all, erase them and start again. He must be a part of the test. He figured out how to cheat. It is risky but he knows it's hard to spot among the crowd unless people were looking for it. He brought a hand to his face in fake desperation and used the opportunity to move some of the hair covering his right eye. He then opened said eye, revealing a two-tomo Sharingan. He used it to copy the motions of the guy in front of him and was able to fill in all the questions. He then closed his right eye and covered it once again. He had to find a way to use his eye without having to go through the trouble of making his hair stay in place. He was glad he managed to grow it out to be able to cover it, however. The only downside was that he couldn't wear his headband on the forehead lest his closed eye would be exposed all the time. He wore his headband tied around his neck much like Hinata's, if only a little tighter. He did intend to start wearing his headband like he used to when the knowledge of his Sharingan became public. He'd have to suck it up in the meantime. It's time for the 10th question. Before I give it to you, you have the option of either answering the question or not," said Ibiki. "What happens if we don't answer?" asked a random genin in the background. "You and your team will fail and you'll have to take the exams next year," answered Ibiki. "Then we'll just take it," answered the genin and received a devious smirk from Ibiki. "If you choose to answer and you do so incorrectly, you and your team will be banned from ever taking the exams again." "What? You can't do that," yelled Kiba. "There's people here that have taken the exams before." "You're out of luck. I'm making the test this time, which means I make the rules," answered Ibiki. "Everyone who wishes not to answer and try again next time, raise your hand and you will be escorted out." Tons of people started to leave the room and Naruto was now getting nervous. He turned around looking for his teammate and found her looking as worried as he was until Shikamaru, who was sitting next to her, muttered something in her ear which caused her to light up in understanding. She in turn gave Naruto a thumbs up and shook her head, instructing him not to drop out. Naruto wouldn't question whatever it was that Shikamaru said. He knew he was smart, so he just calmly remained in his seat and waited for this part to end. Naruto then noticed Hinata was visibly shaking. he knew he couldn't talk to her to ease her nerves, but he couldn't think of any other way to calm her down. Hinata then started to raise her hand and Naruto knew he had to do something to stop her from quitting. She had tried to help him, so it was only fair he helped her as well. So he did what he thought was the most logical and safest way to stop her from quitting. He stomped her foot hard. Hinata almost yelled in pain but managed to cover her mouth with her hand and turned her head to look at Naruto, who gave her an apologetic smile and muttered the words "don't quit" to her. Any other person would have reacted aggressively, and rightfully so. She just did as he said. To every one of you who remains here I have just one thing to say, you all pass. What? Shouted almost everyone in the room. What was the 10th question? Asked Tamari. There was no 10th question, or you could say that choosing to stay or not was the question, said Ibiki, but received looks of confusion. As Chunin, you will be put into situations where you won't like what you have to do, situations where you know you probably can't survive. Will you skip out on them? Will you decline when asked by your cage? The answer is no. You will have to do things you won't like because that's what your village needs you to do, and that's the only thing that matters. What was the point of the other questions then? Were they pointless? Asked Tamari. Those were to test your information gathering skills, answered Ibiki, taking off his bandana and showing his very scarred head to everyone in the room. Information is the most valuable thing for a village. It is of the utmost importance that you manage to get it safely and to keep information from your village safe as well, further explained Ibiki. Either way, congratulations on passing the first T-dash. Suddenly one of the windows at the left of the room shattered and in came a ball of black cloth that extended to reveal a sign that read "The Sexy and Single Proctor of the second exam Mitarashi Anko," followed by whom everyone assumed was Mitarashi Anko. Your early Anko. Again, said Ibiki, causing Anko to deflate. She quickly recovered however and started counting the people left in the room. 35 genin left. Ibiki. You must be going soft in your old age, joked Anko. Maybe there's just a good batch this time, replied Ibiki with a challenging smirk on his face. Whatever, when I'm through with them their numbers will be cut at least in half. Anko smirked and everyone started getting nervous. Follow me kiddies, we have work to do, yelled the second proctor before jumping out the window, making everyone in the room follow behind her. After all the Chunin to be left the room, Ibiki started going through the tests until he got to Naruto's. He was reading over it and was surprised to see it was done to perfection. He definitely cheated, figured the proctor, and was about to move forward until he found a note hidden in one of the questions. Ibiki-san, Ibiki-sama. Whatever. There is a guy in the exam, Yakushi Kabuto, he knows something, Hokage-sama said. Only he, a few Umbu and I were supposed to know about, and I swear I didn't tell anyone. I'm only telling you this because Hokage-sama mentioned your name. I might be overreacting and I'm sorry to use you as a courier, but I would appreciate it if you could tell my sensei. I'm sure he will know what to do. I'd do it myself, but we're not allowed to talk to our senseis. Uzumaki Naruto. P.S. I think you're cool, Tabia. What an interesting kid. A young man with silver hair tied in a ponytail was making his way through a series of underground tunnels below the village, making sure not to be spotted by the guards. After minutes of silently walking, he found a small hidden room in one of the walls, a tall man with dark hair and white skin waiting there for him. Without even bothering to greet him, he asked the question he had come here to ask. Are you sure this is the way to proceed, Orochimaru-sama? Very, Kabuto-kun, the loss of the Sharingan is a detriment to my plans, but that's hardly the only thing I want. Sarutobi-sensei will die and Konoha will fall with him. Orochimaru, one of the Densetsu no Sunin and fallen apprentice of the Sandaime Hokage. I take it you won't be infiltrating the second part of the exams as you originally intended? Said Kabuto. Kukyaku, chuckled Orochimaru. Of course I will. While not my first option, the Sharingan isn't the only dojutsu Konoha has to offer. I might as well make the best of what I got while I'm here, don't you think? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, subscribe to my channel for more fan fictions like this, and goodbye.